Cari fratelli e sorelle, welcome to my weekly video blog. Oh, I have a tuft of hair just sticking up there. Welcome to my weekly video blog. First, an apology. So, there's been a couple of weeks without a video blog and I'll explain why. The first week, I had a little bit of an issue. My computer broke down completely. I had a PC. I've had a long history of having PCs because that is all I've ever had, and you know, they're not built to last like they used to. We first had an Acorn. An Acorn computer runs off RISC-OS. It's a really old type of machine. It predates the internet, and everything that goes into it goes in on floppy disks. It cannot or could not connect to the internet. It could not take in CDs, DVDs or Blu-rays or anything else. It literally was a sort of floppy disk thing, and about all you could do on it was little games that you were given, something called Coral Draw, which allowed you to sort of draw things and paint things, and a word processor. It was a glorified word processor, basically. These things sat on your desk. You had a keyboard, a huge monitor, and you're talking like at least that large from front to back. And a power stack, which was, you know, huge, literally. And it used to be the family's computer until we got a better computer, and our better computer arrived in the very late 90s, and you're talking the very late 90s, perhaps sort of 97, 98. In fact, I think it was 98, 99, really. It was very, very late. And that was the first computer that we had which could connect to the internet. And therefore that computer became the family computer. It was able to read CDs, if I remember rightly. And it was able to connect to the internet. Dial-up only, obviously. But then I inherited the Acorn, which was basically my first computer, and that lasted me not very long at all. It lasted me, well, let's think, from about 99 till 2003, something like that. But I wasn't using it all that time. I used it heavily for the first 2 years, and then I went to university and I didn't have a computer until my final year. In 2003, in the summer term, in the fall of 2002, I got my first computer, and this computer, you know, it was a fantastic machine. I can't exactly remember what make or model or anything like that it was. It was the first time that I had a flat screen with the monitor, basically, and that lasted for years. It lasted for years. It started in 2003 and it was 2008 that it died, and back then you got given what was called a disc, which was like a ghost disc, and what it did was it completely wiped the hard drive, wiped the soft drive, it wiped everything, and then reinstalled everything to factory settings. Now, what you tended to find was that the computer began very, very well, and then it started to slow down and send up more and more error messages. And then you would have trouble opening it up and getting in the first place. And then you would have a situation where you were trying to use the system restore to go to a previous restore point to set up settings, and then when that finally failed, your only option was to use this backup ghost disk and stick it in. Now each disk was particular to the machine you had. You could use it several times, but you generally found that you could use it maybe once, possibly twice, but after that the computer was basically buggered. And once you'd redone it, so you'd use the disk once, it was not very long, you know, a matter of months before the computer was back to exactly the same state. Now it so happens that I then went for a computer in 2009, and that computer was the last computer that I owned to come with a disk where you can reinstall things. They don't do that anymore, and the reason they don't do that anymore is because it means that you can keep a computer alive for 6 to 7 years like I did. And they don't want you to do that, the computer manufacturers. What they want is for you periodically to have to buy a new computer. The expectation in terms of a medium to heavy use computer is 3 years. And there are two things that bugger these things up, neither of which you have any control over, neither of which have anything whatsoever to do with, malware or viruses. The two things that generally tend to bugger up computers are when you come to the end of a run with a virus protection software and Windows Live updates, which will eventually cause the machine to actually break down, and you'll have to get a new one. It actually does that, and I almost got a confession out of this sort of new guy, I think he was a new guy, at PC World about that, because I was saying, well, how come they don't give these discs anymore that you can, restore your computer? Anyway, so that one that I had in 2009 did not last very long. It was gone, I think, 2013. Something like that. And then I had a reconditioned computer, which wasn't my own, in fact, it was my nan's, but she didn't want it, and I had that, and that lasted less than 2 years. Anyway, so I went back and I had to use my some of my savings from my bike, so we can forget about that for the near future. And I took out £300. I thought, I'm not going any more, I'm not going any higher than that. And of course there was not a good range of desktop computers at PC World at all. And so I was forced to look at laptops instead. And those were quite expensive, but there was one in my price range, so I bought it. It's taken me quite a while to get used to it, I have to admit. The lack of a mouse and the new Windows software, which is sort of not 7 or anything like that, it's now Windows 9 or something stupid like that. No, 8. They don't do 9, it goes straight from 8 to 10, don't ask me why. But this one has silly little boxes on your screen, which every time you move your mouse over, it opens up even if you don't want it to, that sort of thing. It's taken me a while to get used to it. So I was busy buying my computer that first week, and then the second week I was busy uploading all the Vintage Tour videos, which I didn't have chance to do that first week because of the computer. And so by the time we came to the end of that, I basically thought, look, I've overloaded the system here, so I'm just going to stop, and next weekend, which is the third weekend, so to speak, at the end of these 2 weeks, I will do a bumper blog. So this is my bumper blog. We are now about 4 weeks away from the next centenary blog, so it's gone extremely quickly indeed. There are various things that you need to know. I am starting the prediction videos back up as soon as I can, but the Fighter of the Card Awards are going to wait until the next time I would usually do them, and then I'll backdate them, which is the same for things like Odd Balls and Birdwatch and all that sort of stuff, although I have to admit that I lost some of the videos that I was waiting to upload in terms of that from my old machine. Thankfully most of my photos are saved because I save them all every month, and I download them onto memory sticks. So, you know, I lost less than a month's worth of stuff, and none of it was from the holiday because that was still on the camera. So yeah, it's been, you know, I'm trying to put into practice all the changes that I've wanted to make for a long time, that I've been speaking endlessly about. My problem has been that I have not wanted to move on, I think, from a few sort of key areas which I had hoped would be reinvigorated. You know, things were going well with the 5-year plan until we moved. But once I moved, I had to re-establish myself in Markenfield, and that set me back, I suppose, in terms of fulfilling the rest of the 5-year plan, because I was busy sort of reorientating myself. I couldn't just continue as if life, you know, hadn't changed. And with that, I after that sort of period, after a couple of months, I was wanting not to go back to Granville at all, but wanting to go back, particularly like with things online. I was wanting to do what I had done before, and basically that part of my life, you know, was over, and it took a while, I think, for me to grasp that it was good while it lasted. But I was wasting time by sort of clinging to something that was never going to come back in the same way it had done before. And what I needed to do was basically cut ties and, you know, have a fresh start, all things new, so to speak. And that's what I'm really trying to do now. I'm picking up where I left off, basically, in the middle of 2012, if you like. I'm rewinding the clock, or trying to rewind the clock, back to about summer 2012, when I'd settled in and I was about to sort of, I lost my footing, I suppose, a little bit. And so I'm trying to catch up, I suppose, with that. But, you know, it's a learning curve for me. And hopefully this time I shall be able to get things right. So in terms of birthdays, I have a few belated birthday greetings to give out. Now you'll have to excuse me because I need to look at my laptop for this, but there we are. And we've got David Terrell, Spencer Christmas, and these were from about sort of a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. Ricardo Franco, Charles Edward, Kate Walker, Lindsay Slapp, Vaughan Lee, Matt McGlinchey, Ali Watson Sparrow, and Donna Lasparta Harrington. Now, I think the rest of them are pretty much birthday greetings for this week. And they include Josh Bentley, whose birthday is, I think, today, Mark Lambert, Sam Bentley, obviously they have their birthdays on the same day, Scott Harris, Johnny Saville, Sean Osteen, Richard Snedden, Sammy Berwick, and I think that's it for this week, but I could be wrong. Oh, Amy Dawson as well. I believe that's it until next weekend. I hope, anyway. So apologies for those who are getting their birthday greetings about 2 weeks late, but you know, I had some technical difficulties, and now, from now on, hopefully it will be back to the way it's been. before, which is pretty good track record, to be fair.